so one of the things which is interesting to me, talk a little bit about, because you see some differences here, which I don't think we should, between registrars. So okay. How do you determine as an auditor how much time to scope, right? How much time you should be spending auditing an ISMS?
Yep. Yeah, and again, I mean, I'll bring up other standards. For SOC, they don't. For those that are familiar with the ASCPA requirements, there's really no determination of how much time you have to apply to a SOC audit. Okay, but the CPA firm is issuing an opinion, and with that carries a lot of weight. And so if there's some failure there, that CPA firm is on the hook, right? With ISO, we issue a cert, and unfortunately, that's the only deliverable that a company's customers are going to see. Is just basically full conformance. So what ISO did is to make sure that they can level the playing field amongst all registrars, is that they came out with it's 27006 specifically, and so within that standard, they have identified how much audit time at a minimum that we have to apply to a scope. And unfortunately, the only thing that they had to go off of is the number of persons in scope, right? And again, I mean, you could, maybe there's another way to do it, but this was the best effort that they had at that time. So they've got different ranges, different buckets. If you've got 10 people, it's going to take 6 days. If you've got 200 people, it's going to take 14 days, right? But that, and again, this is why we're policed from the accreditation bodies, is because we have to make sure that we can demonstrate that we apply that audit time to 27001 audit based off of 27006, right? Mm-hmm. So you do have the opportunity to modify that audit time up to a certain extent, based off of things like, it might be a very simple scope. It might be, maybe a few people in scope, that basically do the same thing, right? So law firm, for example, law firm may have, 1,000 people within scope, but 900 of those are attorneys, so it's really who owns that risk within a law firm is going to be the IT function and compliance, right? So you do have the ability to modify that at the time, but you still have to make sure you meet the objectives of what the audit is, right. And getting comfort that you can, that the organization can demonstrate that they have a management system that's in place, it's effective, and that we're comfortable getting a cert out there with our name on it.
Yeah, I'd like ANAB or UCAS or whoever is above them. I think you mentioned it before, who's above them. AFR, is that what it was or something? You mentioned
IAF. Yeah.
IAF.
Yeah.
I would love them to tighten 27006 because, you see ranges that are too high, and you have some, I'll call them less quality ISO 27001 registrars that will lowball things, and they'll use people in scope based on the number of people that are actually in the information security department that are actually working on the ISMS, and then somebody else is coming in and doing it, I think, properly, looking at IS, IT, anyone involved in the construct management, information security management committee, all that kind of stuff. And you get someone who's looking at it with, 30 people in scope, and you got somebody who's looking at it with 3 people in scope. And now you end up with, occasionally some half-ass audits. Let's do our, I had one the other day where a client called me up and we're like, they're like, why are you guys charging so much for the internal audit, for external audit support? I said, what do you mean? I said, you got a couple of days. Oh, no, they're going to do stage 1 in like 3 hours remotely. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
So
no,
that'll explain that.
And John, it comes up all the time. I can't tell you. And hopefully I'm not saying the wrong thing here, but we'll have prospects come in that maybe talk to other certification bodies, and we get an identification of what their scope is, and they say they've got 10 people in scope, but from their scope statement, it's the entire organization. And I know that there's more than 10 people that work for that organization. Right. And so I'm trying to walk through basically what the organization has to identify. It's, you dictate the time based off of where your risk points are.
Right.
And those 200 people that work for their organization all are risk points. Yeah. If somebody doesn't know what they're supposed to do,
and it's a confidential document and they just leave it hanging around an office.
Right.
You have to make sure that the number of persons that you're including within scope are those that you want to ensure that understand security awareness, they're part of the risk assessment process, right. Everything that they're supporting from a control or process perspective, they know what to do, how to do it, there's policy and procedures there. And so that number goes up. It's not just 10 people.